Hi everyone, this is Diane. Thanks for coming by my channel today. I'm working on these simple journals, simple and eclectic. And I did, let's see, today's Saturday. So today's video that went up was the beginning of this, matching, showing the pictures that I chose to go with the book covers. They're just plain book covers. And I did some collaging or Mod Podging on that video. And then earlier today, I did a video showing just the light embellishment that I'm doing in the journals. But then I read my comments from today's videos, and several of you wanted to see me put the spine on. And I have done this before in other videos, but I'm going to do it again here. I have to put them on anyway, so I might as well turn the camera on while I do it. These two already have their spine constructed. So this video I think I will put up before I do the one that I did earlier today, before that one gets shown. So just in case anything looks like it was out of order, it was. So I want to start with this one. I already have done all the Mod Podging of the covers, and I have cut my chipboard and my Tyvek. And I have chosen the paper for end papers and the fabric for the spine. So we're going to talk about all of that while I work. This one is the blue cover that says, "We have felt the power of flowers." And I have my chipboard cut, like I said. So I use a pretty sturdy chipboard, and I cut it for 2 inches wide, which is my typical spine, but not always. But I'm doing it for this one. And I cut it 2 inches wide plus the height of the book. So I cut my piece 2 inches, and then I hold it up to my spine and just draw a line across and cut it. So I have that piece ready. And then I take a piece of Tyvek, which I get from an envelope or a sheet. Show you. I do have some that are just in 8.5 by 11 sheets or whatever size it is, similar to that. Might be 9 by 12, I don't know, but it's from Amazon. And I also have these envelopes that I cut them apart so that they're flat pieces of Tyvek. And I cut that just barely less than the height of the spine, and a couple inches wider so that it will extend. You'll see why in a minute. So I have those pieces prepped. I'm going to set aside this piece. I've chosen this for the end papers. I'm just going to set that aside right now. So I want to make sure my grid on my mat is visible because I will be using that. I use this red tape. It's not actually red. The liner is red. When you peel the red off, it is clear. And you can get this at the craft stores. Hobby Lobby has their own brand, and Joann's has their own brand, and Michael's. And you can get it from Amazon. And I get the 1/4 inch size. It also comes in 1/8 inch. And I think you can still get it in 1/2 inch. But I always get the 1/4 inch. And as you can see, I am just putting it down the length of each spine, right on the edge. You don't have to use this tape. You can use Tyvek. I think it would be fine, but this is what I always use, and I'm comfortable with it. I'm confident in it. And now I am going to outline all 4 sides of the spine piece with the tape. One of the comments was from someone who makes journals using book covers like I do, but she uses the spine that's already attached to the book. but I like to create my spine to be the width I want it to be. Sometimes I use the spine that's attached to the book. It just depends on the size of the spine. So she wanted to see how I constructed a spine, and then someone else said they were very eager to see how I made the spine for the cover. So now here's where I'm going to use my grid on my mat. I'm going to take my cover piece, and there are bold lines on my mat. I'm just going to line that up on a vertical line and a horizontal line. So right in the corner. Oh, no, before I do that, I need to peel the backing off. Whoops, took the tape right off that one. So what I'm going to do here, as soon as I can find the end of my tape again, okay, I'm going to put a little glue here because it's got a rough, raw surface where it tore off the top of the cardboard, and that just wants to lift and peel, so that glue will help. And then of course I'll have to let that dry. But I was starting to say you can just use your Fabri-Tac glue if you want to. I think that'll hold everything just fine. But since this is what I used this long before I ever started using Fabri-Tac for my projects, so I know this works. And some people, like in the mini album world, I saw someone who used both Fabri-Tac, or she used score tape, but she would use that along with a glue. But I think this works just fine. Okay, now I can line this up in the corner of my grid. And you have to be careful not to touch the tape while you're doing this, because when you move your hand will stick to the tape and your piece will move. And then I just use the cover that I've already lined up to line up the other items. So I'm putting that along the bottom of my grid, and then just leaving a tiny little gap, just a tiny gap between the cover and the spine so that it can move. But you don't want a big gap. It's got a little piece of cardboard sticking out there. It's just enough to push up against that spine and move it. Okay, I think it looks straight. It's important to do this part. Take your time and do this part right, because this is the foundation of your book. I have my Tyvek piece. I can see it's quite a bit wider than it needs to be. So I'm just going to trim it. And then I'm going to carefully lay it down without trying very hard not to move the pieces. And then press it down. And there is the spine. Now we can't leave it looking like that, so the next step is to cover it with fabric. I chose this pretty little floral. It has the colors that are in here, and it's light background to contrast with the solid blue, and I really like this print with this picture. but it is, because it's white and it's a nice fabric, it's a nice quality, but it's a little thin with the white, so you can kind of see the chipboard through it. This really wouldn't be a problem. You can't really see it that well, but I have used like old sheets that were very see-through, and you could see the brown of the chipboard through it. So just to show you what to do in that situation, I might just go ahead, if I wasn't doing this on camera, I might just go ahead and use it just the way it is without painting this, because it doesn't seem to show through much, if at all. But just to show you what you can do if you're using a light colored fabric and you can see the brown chipboard through it, I'm just putting on antique white. You could use white if you wanted to, but I thought this tan or beigey color would be better. I put on a little too much paint, but I'm just painting it, and it dries really quickly if you don't put too much on. So I don't have to put it on very thick. Now what am I going to do with this? There's a place for it. I'm going to get a baby wipe to clean up some of that excess that I got on there. Because it's pretty goopy right there. And it's okay if I get it on the edge of the book cover, because that's going to be covered with fabric. But maybe not this far in. Oh, goodness. Okay. All right. It's drying very fast. So while that dries, gotta clean my hands off so I don't spread that paint around where I don't want it. Make sure I don't have wet paint. Just put that over. Okay, now I'm going to start on this one just because I'm waiting for that one to dry. This one is a special case because I put this on upside down, which it shouldn't matter because it's a solid cover, right? Except that this is the raw edge where it was taken apart from the spine. So this needs to be where the spine will be created. And that is the finished edge. So I need to cover that raw edge. What I decided to do was, once I get the spine built, and then I can, after I put the fabric down, I will put end paper on here. But I think I'm going to cut this end paper just a little bit wider than it needs to be so I can fold it over. So I'll just trim that just a tiny bit over the edge. Like 1/4 of an inch. I'm not going to glue this down yet. I want to have my fabric spine down first. But I'm just doing this part while I wait for that other paint to dry. So when I glue this down, it doesn't even have to go all the way over this far because the fabric is this is gonna be the spine now, and the fabric of the spine will be out here. So I can trim it some more if I need to, but when I do glue it down, I'll just wrap it around, and it'll be a pretty edge on that side of the book. I would rather not have to do that, but since I exposed the raw edge of the spine, I will do that. Okay, are we dry? We are dry. So now I'm going to take my fabric piece, which I already tore it to about the width of the Tyvek. It's a little bit wider. And let's see, I'll put this edge here. So I just wrap it all the way around the spine like that. And then trim it. Guess it wasn't quite dry in that well. Down in that crease there. That's okay. So I like to have the short edge that just wraps over. I like to have that at the bottom, and then put this so that the raw edge of the fabric faces down. There's no reason for that, except I think it would look better having the raw edge of the fabric going down rather than up. But this one is a selvage edge, so that's a finished edge. And then once I have it in place, I can just put some glue on this little short piece down here and fold it up. I just want to check and see how it looks on the front. Okay, that looks good. It could be slightly narrower if you wanted it to be, but I think it looks fine. I like to have the look of the fabric coming over onto the front of the cover to add to the decorative element. And then I'm going to put glue on this part that's on the outer spine. So I just tap my glue bottle down there so I know where to start the glue. You don't need to be too thick with it. You want to make sure you get the edges down, but the inside part will have stitches sewn through it, unless you wanted to do a hidden spine, which I'm not doing on these journals. Now flip this over and put glue on this part. There are tutorials on YouTube that show you how to do the rounded spine, open rounded spine, but I am not very good at doing that, and I just don't take the time to practice it. So this is what I typically do, and a lot of others do also. So there's the spine, and you don't want to bend your cover up. You don't want to fold it while the glue is wet, because it will pull the material, and then when you lay it out again, it will pucker. So while we're waiting for the glue to dry, I always cover the raw edge of the fabric. You don't have to. You can leave the fabric raw. But I like to cover it with, I use rickrack, I use gimp trim, ribbon or lace, whatever you want. You could even use paper like a border edge paper that you cut with your edge punch. This is a pretty picot satin ribbon. Picot means it has those little loops of thread all along it. That would be very pretty on it. Or I have this trim. But I don't think I'll do that because I have this lace up here. So I think I'll go with the picot ribbon. The shade of blue is about perfect. It's raining. I'm so glad. We've been having a drought here. It rained the other day. We had a good thunderstorm, but it didn't last very long. We had 2 brief thunderstorms. But now it's raining. I hope it's going to be a nice steady rain for a while. You can put your glue either on your lace or trim piece or right on your cover if you know exactly where you're going to lay the piece. And if the piece isn't too wide, this should catch it. That looks pretty. And now I need to cover the end paper. Now this is a pretty good end paper. It's plain, but there's nothing really wrong with it. There is a raw edge here. Sometimes if I want to keep the end paper that's here, I don't cover this, but I will put a trim or something there. And again, you don't have to. I've seen journals that I really like the look with the frayed edge of the fabric there. But in this case, I do want to cover it. I'm going to cover the end paper, and that will cover the raw edge. But what did I do with my pretty piece of paper that I was going to use? It's a gorgeous piece of paper. I'm not seeing where I put it, out of my way. I know you saw it at the beginning of the video, but you probably didn't see where it went. Probably fell somewhere down behind something. Oh, darn. I really like that paper. Oh, here it is. Okay. Kind of fell behind something. I thought this was pretty with the blues and then some of the colors that are in the picture. So I just lay this down on my, you could measure, if you like to measure, which I don't. I just lay this down and I have it right up to the edge of the end paper here. And then I decide where I want it here. It'll be on top of the fabric. So I'll just make a mark right there. And then I slide this down into place and over a bit so I can see how far up it needs to go. This end paper is put on a little bit crooked so it's much closer to the top here, but I want to make sure that I cover it. So I'm going to cut the height first. This book is small enough that the 12 by 12 paper will be enough for both front and back. So I'm lining the mark up here and I can see that it is 5 inches. So that will help me just cut the other piece. good. And then you decorate the inside however you want to, or leave it alone. I like to put a book plate on the front, and I like to put a pocket on the back. Sometimes I put a pocket on the front also. Sometimes instead of a book plate, I put a pocket on the front with a tag inside it where you can write your name. Depends on what you want to do, and there's all kinds of pockets you can use. Or just don't. You know, books you purchase don't have pockets in them usually. But I like to do that for my junk journals. Next to pink, I like blue, so I really like the colors in this journal. And there we have it. Let me see if I can find a book plate for this. I've got a handy little box here. This is a homemade book plate with a stamp that I have. This came out of a book. It blends in too much. I have some digital ones and these ephemera pieces. That might be cute. I'm not sure which way it goes. This one's pretty. I like that one. And some are real book plates that you purchase. I had a whole bunch of Mary Engelbreit ones from the flea market. Got that one in a Happy Mail. I've gotten them at flea markets, and that's a cute one. That's adorable, and the color is great, but it's very childish compared to the front cover. These are supposed to be eclectic, not themed journals or anything, but I do try to do a little bit to keep them, you know, coherent. I like that one. It's a garden gate. It does have someone's name on it, but I put little labels over the name. There's one I already did in blue. Just a little bit too small. This one's a ephemera piece, I think, from Tim Holtz. That one works. Okay, this is just about done. I'll figure out what kind of a pocket I want to put on the back there later. This fabric that I pulled down was just a little bit long, so I'm gonna trim that. There, now it's not hanging off the bottom. So I have 3 covers put together, and pages assembled and partially decorated for 2 of them. So we're getting there. I really like the colors on this one. Okay, I'll show you what I've selected for the rest of them. This one you saw the end paper for that, and I chose this piece of fabric. I did want to show you this too, because this one is a little different because the fabric I wanted to use isn't long enough to wrap all the way around. So let me just show you. I don't have time to assemble the cover, but I will just show you what I would do with it. So let's say the cover is put together and this is on the outside. So I would glue this down just like I did the other one, but I would wrap both ends up like that. And then I have this raw space here. So then I would just take another piece of fabric and cut it to the right length, so it would not go all the way up or all the way to the bottom, but kind of like the height of the end paper, that sort of thing. So glue this down first and then glue this piece on top of it. And you'll have, this part will be raw at the top and at the bottom. Just so you're aware of that. So I have these pieces selected. And for this one, I want to cover that partial word there. I think I put this in the wrong bottle. It's got a skinnier pin for that little tiny nozzle. I need to cover that, so I looked at my yo-yos and I found this flower with a yo-yo in the middle, and it's got yellow. I'm going to put yellow on the spine, and I'm going to have to do the same thing with this one because the yellow fabric I chose isn't long enough, so I'm going to put a different yellow on the inside, and then this will cover up the word. And I like the yellow because they're playing with dandelions, and so there's little bits of yellow dandelion. Her hair is yellow, so I wanted to just bring out the yellow. And I chose this fun fabric or paper for the end paper. And then I thought I might use a red gingham to trim off the front. And is this the last one? I think it is. The last one is this with the rust colors, and this, it's rust, but it's bright. This is bright, and it just looks illuminated, you know. Looks like the sun is shining. You can see it on him and on the glow of her face. And they are in their roadster going someplace fun. But I chose this more sedate looking piece for the inside because I like the color with it. And this piece for the outside, it does have the bright colors along with the rust color. It's got the blue for the water, the different oranges, the green for that sky looks kind of greenish. So I think I love these colors with this, so that's what I chose for this one. So that's where we are in our progress so far. And in the next video, you will watch me decorate the pages of whatever the little bit of decorating that I'm doing. You'll see me doing that in the next video on these pages. So we're making progress, and we will get these done before too long. Thanks for watching. I hope this helped, seeing how I put my spines, my book covers together with a brand new spine. And I hope you give it a try. Let me know how you make out. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Have a creative day today. Bye-bye.